Can you talk a little bit about some of the charitable impact that you've made to date? Maybe any of the charities that have benefited, or I'm curious if there are any ways that charities sort of benefit beyond the revenue from an individual meeting. Tell us a little bit about the charitable impact.
Sure. So again, any charity on the Just Giving network, which is free for them to join, is eligible automatically. We have an arm's length relationships with with all of the charities, although we have a number of conversations with charities who are looking to see how they can maximize this. For the charities, it's just new and free revenue stream for them because we don't charge the charities anything. We've raised money for dozens of charities already, everything from Alzheimer's to mental health charities, which seems to be very popular in the financial services space. Given the nature of that, after living through the financial services space, but we've raised money for dozens of charities, and we're happy to work with them because these charities have no shortage of in-demand supporters, whether they're patrons or trustees or volunteers or just general supporters. So these charities are now have a new means to engage with these people, many of whom say, hey, other than reaching into my pocket, how can we help? Well, here's a great way to engage in skills-based fundraising. Super easy. You don't have to leave the office. You're sharing your expertise. It's all everything is under your control. So we've had some very good success working with charities that want to do more and be a bit more proactive. Um, so and obviously from an impact perspective, we have so I've had conversations with some of our time givers who also get involved in time-based volunteerism where they'll go and take the day off and paint a wall. And
Right.
no disrespect to wall painters, but if you took that 8-hour day and broke that into 8 1-hour meetings, you'll raise four figures for that charity no matter who you are, and they don't have to organize the outing. And so this is just another means for them to actually find some new money in a time where, whether it's government subsidies or just people not reaching as deep into their pockets as they might have been previously, it just gives them a new means to achieve their mission.
Fantastic. And so this is a pretty innovative model, not one that I've encountered, at least when it comes to the kinds of connections that you're making for the charitable causes. Anything that you've learned maybe since founding the network that surprised you, and any unexpected behaviors that you maybe weren't anticipating when you got this off the ground? Tell us a little bit about what maybe has been unexpected in this journey.
So we've had a lot of success with time givers, right? Time givers are, once they understand the story, and to your point, sometimes I wish I was just selling a widget and I would be able to say, hey, it's a widget and it does it better, right? This is,
Right.
creating something brand new is always a challenge, right? And maybe that was a surprise, right? How long it takes to convey the story and get people to understand what it is, unwind preconceived notions and things like that. So that's been a little bit more challenging, but thanks to you and others who've enabled me to share the story. Right now, we're really picking up a lot of momentum. We now have over 300 executives as part of the platform,
Wow. Nice.
which is great. Um, Time bidders, I've been very pleasantly surprised at the feedback that they've given because, again, I didn't know what that outcome would be, but it's really lived up to its potential where those meetings have been super impactful and they've been able to result in new opportunities or further introductions that have been especially helpful. One of the things that I was surprised about, because again, we based this on Warren Buffett and offering access in return for a meeting, but some of our time bidders have come up with some new and innovative ways to use the platform. Right? We have one time bidder who was hosting a dinner, and they really wanted somebody from a particular firm to attend that dinner. They ended up making a donation to that executive's charity of
Oh,
choice
interesting.
for participating in a dinner. We're working with a conference organizer who's happy to offer donations to speakers.
Hmm.
We have one time bidder firm that spent a lot of time and energy creating a white paper, like a research report, and they used the platform to encourage influencers to read the report and repost it on LinkedIn with some kind words to say.
Wow.
So in that case, there was not even a meeting. So in that case, it was actually just turning charitable donations into a different form of compensation or making people whole or creating a value exchange over and above the conventional model. So it's taking a bit of a life of its own as it relates to that. And actually, when we talk about the future plans, I've now taken that idea and we now have a future enhancement that should be able to accommodate that model and other models even more easily.
That is really interesting. When you describe sort of the basic use case, I didn't even think about the potential, event planning, event marketing implications, and I might even have to look on the platform for my next podcast guest. Who knows, right? So,
Yeah, we even have a scenario where someone, again, the conventional networking model, one of the big ones is conferences.
mhm,
And a lot of these institutions spend a lot of money on these conferences, and a lot of those conferences are free for attendees who are maybe they're buy side attendees
right.
if it's an asset management conference. Those who don't pay to go, they often don't turn up, which is obviously quite frustrating for those who spend five figures to be a conference sponsor. So we now have one firm that is a sponsor at a conference, and they're doing outreach to conference attendees and saying, "Hey, we're going to be there. I know you're scheduled to be there. We'd be happy to make a donation to your charity of choice if we could just get an hour during lunch or a half hour on the side, maybe at drinks, just to come over and have a proper chat rather than hoping that that person walks by their booth and they grab them for some 5-minute conversation that isn't really going to go anywhere, which is also good for the organizers because now the organizers are happy to know that their attendees have to turn up because they've taken a charitable donation, and so everybody wins in that model as well. So
Makes total sense.